Good morning, everyone. Gary Ryan here for the first Fed League Flash for the 2023 to 24 season. Yes, it is October, so as far as I'm concerned, today starts the next season. I know we're still 2 weeks away from opening night, or 13 days away from opening night. 13 days. It's been a long off season. So, all right. Excuse me. We're gonna go through things kind of rapid fire here today. Just covering some of the impactful things that happened this week. I'm not going to be talking about some of the PTO signings and stuff like that so much because that's an everyday thing. But okay, yesterday, two more Fed players got call ups to the SPHL. This time it was Binghamton defensiveman Quentin Roseboom. He has gotten a PTO with the Fayetteville Marksmen. And Nick Gullo from the River Sharks, he is going to be trying out for Quad City. So, congratulations to those two guys. And we're going to get into this a little bit more later on, talking about call ups and the impact and how it fits in with the Fed vision. Okay. I want to go back and recap this because had a conversation this morning. Um, so it's necessary to go over this. Um, Most of you know what's going on, but there's still a lot of confusion out there. So I want to be very clear on things. Okay, the October 13th game that was scheduled, Elmira hosting Binghamton, has been postponed. The new date is not November 17th. Okay. Um, this the makeup date has not yet been scheduled. It probably will not be for maybe even a couple months. The game may be made up later in the season, much later, and that's okay. All right. So all you need to know at this point to simplify things, the game on the 13th is just postponed. There is no Binghamton versus Elmira game on the 17th due to um, issues with the arena renovations that are being done and the ice plant not working properly. All right, WETM went and they got a miscommunicated post. Unfortunately, John Clement, poor guy, he got caught in the middle of this. He was told this is what's happening, and he issued a release, and it wasn't the correct information. John was not given the correct information, so I'm not blaming John. All right, John Clement is working his tail off to try and get into his role, into his position. He was given bad information. He relayed that. I and a couple other people got in touch with John, let him know, hey, we've talked to a couple of the people inside the Fed. This is not correct information. So he pulled that story and then issued a correct statement saying that the November 17th game is just a normal game. Okay, just the 13th is going to be rescheduled at a later date. All right. Unfortunately, WETM and 2 Minutes for Roughing the podcast went with the first release. And again, that is incorrect information. Um, again, um, I feel bad for John because he's doing all he can to try and keep the fans up to date with what's going on. I mean, if you're given bad information, you know. So anyway, yeah, that is the case. So no game on the 13th will be rescheduled. The game on the 17th that is already on the schedule, Elmira traveling to Binghamton, that is being played as it normally would be. That is not a makeup day. All right, so it drives me nuts that the FPHL will not use their news feature and post things like that because they're so afraid of looking bad. I mean, things happen. This was not the fault of the team or the league. This was the CCIDA starting renovations way too late. And the crew that's there is trying to get the ice plant to work. I mean, that's things that are out of the River Sharks and the league's control. Um, it happens, so they postpone the game. Okay, great, but make a statement. Make an official statement from the league page. That's necessary. We've got to have better communication going. All right, I'm off my soapbox. All right, now getting back into the news of the week. Um, are the Dashers returning? We will see. A new proposal, has been submitted by Barry Soskin to David S. Palmer Arena Board. We went through this in June. It didn't turn out good. Um, but the David S. Palmer Arena Board said, we want new proposals to discuss when we have our October 25th meeting to see about getting professional hockey back in Danville. Okay, great. So Soskin immediately sent in his proposal. He and his team, which includes Diane Short, who was the GM of the Dashers back in the day. Okay, now the David S. Palmer Arena Board, I don't want to come off negative, but they don't think in practical terms. Okay, they think along very idealistic lines, and it's not necessarily uh, possible to work according to how they have things laid out. They want to receive proposals from the ECHL, the SPHL, and the USPHL. Now, the USPHL, that would work in Danville, excuse me. The ECHL and the SP would not. The SP is not going to touch Danville again. It's just not happening. So why they're trying to invite um, proposals that aren't going to be feasible, I don't know. But anyway, there is a possibility again that we could see potentially a Fed team back in Danville. So we'll let you know as things develop with that. Now, next thing we're gonna hear is in late October, after the board has their next meeting to discuss any proposals that they have received. We'll go from there. On the expansion front, there were rumors early last season that because there's a new arena down in Augusta, Georgia, that perhaps the Fed would look into exploring uh, putting a team there. The arena board doesn't sound like they're very keen on that. First of all, it sounds like if they're even going to entertain having hockey in the arena, that it would have to be an ECHL team or an AHL team or bust. That's the signals that they're sending. Now, at this point, there's nothing in the budget for the arena for an ice plant. So hockey's kind of moot unless you have an ice plant in there. So uh, at this point, it's noise, but I think that's about all it is just noise. All right, getting back into our initial story here with call-ups. All right, let me do this first. Let's review the trades that happened this week. They were all one-way trades. The famous future considerations is really getting around. So over the course of the week, Elmira sent Marquise Grant Mentis to Baton Rouge. Later in the week, they also sent Justin Schmidt, defenseman Justin Schmidt, to the Zydeco. Then Binghamton Black Bears sent goalie Joseph Ackley to Elmira. And the final move made this week was Watertown sending Don Carter Jr. to the Blue Ridge Bobcats. and that was for financial compensation. Uh, but anyway, the reason why Carter got shipped out, okay, and it wasn't a matter of he got shipped out, it's just that he is. He's gotten a couple of PTO offers from the SP. Is probably going to be playing in the SP this year, and Baton Rouge was willing to take on his rights from Watertown. So there you go. All right, call ups. As far as players going to the SP or even the ECHL, it's been a little rough for a couple of the Fed teams, notably Binghamton, who lost 3 to call ups, Danbury, who lost 5. They got hit hard, and Elmira lost 4. All told, Binghamton for the week lost 4 and gained 1. They signed JT Walters. He's coming back. Elmira lost 4 and gained Joseph Ackley, we mentioned before. Danbury Hat-Tricks lost 5, but they got 2 back. Steve Brown, the defenseman, and Christopher Splazis, the forward. So their net for the week was -3, and Watertown lost 6 by trade or player releases, and it was for a variety of reasons, those releases. But getting back to our point, as far as players getting called up, last year we saw a level of talent that hasn't been seen in the Fed in quite a long time. And so this is a good thing. The Fed's vision has always been to give players an opportunity to move their careers along. So the Fed is understandably a stepping stone, or that's the goal, the objective. Now, some they play in the Fed, they stay in the Fed. Joe Pace, Matt Graham, but for the most part, it's players moving up. And now, if you take the rosters from last year at the end of the season, 10 teams, you've got roughly 270 players that you're talking about. Now, some of those players have retired. New players have come in with PTOs and whatnot. But by my count, there are now 30 players from the Fed. They have their rights held by a Fed team that have gotten called up to the SPHL or the ECHL. That's not even to mention that there's players that are playing in Europe in some of the higher leagues. So, this is a very good thing. You're talking about 10% of the league is getting an opportunity to play at a higher level. And so that's a really good thing. Yes, it stinks for us Fed fans. We've become very attached to these players on our favorite teams. And when we see them go, it's bittersweet because we want to see them succeed. We want to see them do well. We want to see them move up, but we really want to see them with our team too. So it's a catch-22. But everything is happening according to how it's designed. And so that's a really, really good thing. This year, we're going to see potentially up to 5 players in the ECHL, Fed graduates, I guess you can say. We have Jake Schultz playing for the Worcester Rail Yard, or Worcester, whatever their team is called. You have Yaroslav Yevdokimov playing for the Tulsa Oilers. You've got Houston Wilson playing for the Reading Royals. And then there are other players that are getting tryouts with ECHL teams. Whether they make it or not has yet to be seen. But Trevor Babin, goaltender Trevor Babin, and Michael Marchesand, who was the playoff MVP last year, they've all been given opportunities at least to play in the ECHL. So that's really great. And it's really awesome to see that talent stepping up. So anyway, there you go. So that brings us into this next week. This is our schedule for the next few days, all on Spotify. Get Spotify, download Spotify. It's free to use, free to download, etc., etc., etc. This is the address here where you can stay in tune with Fed League Flash for all these team capsules that we're going to be doing tomorrow. Danbury, they're the first one. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Gary Ryan. Have a great week ahead.